And welcome to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson, and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Hey, I'm DJ Ross. I am in Mountain View, California.
Each week on Video Game Hangover, we talk about the games that have been keeping us up at nights. This week we're playing The Last Campfire and Moon. Plus we're digging deeper, ever deeper, into Tell Me Why.
We dug deepest. I don't know.
Is it done?
I finished it.
Is it over? Okay, there you go.
It's over. We can't go any deeper. Maybe we can.
Until the inevitable sequel.
Tell me more.
Tell me more. There you go.
The names write themselves.
Yep. Like Die Harder.
Yeah. Die more. Die more harder.
Die Hardest.
Die hardest.
Yep.
They kind of gave up after that second one.
Yeah, I feel like there was still a lot of potential there. And
I wonder if they just didn't want to, kind of write themselves into a corner, because you can't die more than hardest.
No.
Or can you? Maybe they just come up with something?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Die harderest.
Yeah. I mean, they went live free or die hard.
Yeah, it got a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
Maybe they should have quit while they were ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I think they kind of did, but they somehow still kept making movies, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because those first
Justin
three.
Long gotta eat.
First three are pretty good. It just falls off pretty sharply after that.
And then they're just kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah, Justin Long. That guy.
Yeah.
So I've been doing a rewatch of The New Girl. Are you familiar with The New Girl?
I've heard of it.
Zoe Deschanel.
Is Justin Long in that one?
And Justin Long pops up, yeah, at some point.
Oh.
He is a fellow elementary school teacher who is basically the boy version of Zoe Deschanel.
Oh, really?
And he's sort of doing he's basically doing a Zoe impression in the show, and it's pretty great.
That sounds good, yeah.
It's really good, yeah. And they date, and they obviously find that they're much too like each other, and et cetera, et cetera. But the gag is that he's an ugly crier, so they smash cut to him like just big, stretching, gaping, deep breathing tears as they break up. And yeah, it's good. It's Justin Long kind of at his peak, I think.
And then Bruce Willis shows up and he's like, "Oh, son, they're terrorists."
You're the 9th actor to play my son. Yeah. Just drags him into another Die Hard movie. It's better than another Jeepers Creepers movie.
Oh, God. Haven't seen any of those.
No, you're probably better off. Yeah. Anyway, this has been your Justin Long moment.
Oh, good. Yeah. It's nice. We got to check in with him every once in a while. Just don't know what he's up to now that he's not selling iPods or Apple computers or whatever.
Was that his
those
thing?
Things? He was the Mac, right?
Oh, that's right. He was the Mac.
Commercials. Am I dating myself?
Well,
that wasn't that long ago. Don't say anything.
And who was the PC?
John Hodgman.
There you go. Wow. Those have got to be on the internet, right? I have not seen those commercials.
They might be. I think the internet was around.
Or thought of those commercials in a very long time.
I haven't thought of either of those people in a long time. Now I'm curious what John Hodgman is up to.
He had a podcast.
Oh, he's got a show or something. He's doing fine.
He had a pod, yeah. It was the smartest man in the world.
Something like that. Sounds about right.
Yeah. It was good. I liked his podcast, but I don't know if he still does it. I didn't like it enough to keep listening to it.
Well, it sounds like we should be checking in on him now that we've checked in on Justin Long. Stay tuned for next week.
Proof of life on John Hodgman.
I'm sure he's fine. He seems like a responsible guy.
Yeah, absolutely. How's things, DJ? How's life?
It's good. It's very smoky.
Yeah.
It's not as warm as it was anymore, but it's very, can't really go outside. I keep describing this to people as, hopefully you'll appreciate this, it feels like this whole year has just been like every new month is a new ascension in Slay the Spire. Because we started out kind of normal, and then it's like, oh, now I got this pandemic thing. Okay, whatever. Everybody gets kind of used to that, and it's like, oh, now it's like 110 degrees outside, and oh, now everything's on fire, and just new obstacles and considerations just kept getting stacked on top of everything else going on. So it's a little ridiculous.
The bosses get harder and harder. And
yes, and there's just a floating skeleton outside my door.
And it's not a Halloween decoration.
No, as far as I know.
Okay.
I'm still in the camp where it's too early for Halloween. Like October 1st, go nuts. But until then, just relax, people, please.
Really? You isolate your Halloween festivities to just the month of October?
Only October, please. Yes.
Man, if I could start on like July 5th, I would.
No, that's too early. See, if you start that early, even so, I'll admit, October, even though it is completely open season on Halloween, it's like if we start doing stuff on October 1st, I'm like tired of it by the time Halloween rolls around, and I can't have that. So I would say like maybe a week into October just to be safe.
Okay.
But I will not begrudge anyone putting up their decorations on October 1st.
Okay. So this is you trying to sort of preserve your enjoyment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, good.
I do like to go to the store, although not this year, I guess, and look at the Halloween decorations.
Right.
That's fun. It gets me in the mood.
I like to Instacart some Halloween decorations.
Yes, exactly. If you're like, just bring them over, I'll look at them. You can take them away afterward. That's all I want.
Right. Excellent. Well, we detoured pretty significantly there, but I hope you're hanging in there. I think of my California friends anytime I turn on the news, and it's a little crazy.
Well, I think it's fine. It's all Oregon and Washington now, so they have to deal with it.
Okay. Well, now I will direct those thoughts to my Oregon and Washington friends.
Fingers crossed my apartment just doesn't burn down 24 hours after I make that statement. I think feels like it's getting better anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. It was something on Twitter about like this would be the weekend. Labor Day weekend is historically the weekend where PAX Prime happens.
Yeah.
And not this year, obviously, but I think sort of double extra not this year because maybe things would be on fire and nobody would be able to travel. Yeah, it would just be...
Oh, yeah, that'd be terrible. I didn't even think of that.
Extra crazy. So, yeah, it's just weird. It's just the year that keeps on giving.
Yeah, I haven't gone to actual PAX, the convention, for years, but I would go to Seattle just to hang out with people while PAX is going on. I did not do that this year. That was much cheaper.
Exactly.
It's fine.
Yeah, that has been the weird, like hard to complain about upside of generally living life in lockdown is like, why do I have so much money in my checking account?
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I'm just a maniac. I mean, I'm not spending anything, but like I just bought this air filter, which is like not a fun thing, but I'm just like, why not? I mean, I guess there's a very good reason. It's not a why not situation. Bad example.
Sure.
But I'll see like other stuff online, just think like I could just buy this, and if I don't like it, I'll just throw it away. Who cares?
just throw it on the fire.
just add more stuff on the flame.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to make it sound like I'm just spending recklessly.
No, yeah, that's fair.
Because I'm not actually going anywhere to spend stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Mostly it goes into groceries. It's just a weird situation. Everything about this year is very weird. Mm-hmm. I don't need to explain that to anyone. Everybody
correct. Yeah, I was stating the obvious, but yeah. Yeah, we did. I generally, in the course of a year, I've talked about this on the show. In the course of a year, I go, to any number of concerts, and we'll travel to cons and music festivals and things like that. And there's been none of that this year. So again, I have all of this. the disposable income that typically goes in those directions has been sitting in my checking account. And yeah, I mean, Sarah and I did a little kind of, weekend kind of sit on a beach getaway recently, and there was some expenditure we were considering about sort of upgrading our Airbnb or something like that. And we were like, why not? Because it's not like we're spending the money on anything else. So you might as well make that as comfortable as possible.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Rent out the whole hotel or whatever.
Exactly. So, yeah. Champagne problems. Obviously, don't mean to sort of like, bitch about the luxury of being able to consider those things when I'm sure other people have, much bigger concerns. But, again, another weird year.
Yes, I am. I count my blessings. The fact that I am still mostly employed and I'm not having any health issues because of this whole thing. But I know it's not the same for everybody. Some people in a pretty bad spot. But everybody is hanging in as best they can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hate to sort of be crass about this, but if you need a little emotional pick-me-up, if you need to be amongst like-minded friends, we would encourage you to definitely stop into our Discord. We've got a wonderful little community of folks over there. We keep it super positive and super friendly, and we don't always keep it necessarily super focused on video games, but that can be fun too. We've had quite a bit of conversation lately about what the hell Taco Bell has been doing to their menu, and
what's going on with that? We don't need any of this.
No, just nutty. If you're feeling a little isolated, a little pressure filled in your day to day, hop into the Discord and chat out with some like-minded folks.
Yeah, tell us what you think about Andy Samberg.
Yes, it was also where the conversation went recently. So yeah.
Oh, anyway.
Yep. Not a huge fan of Andy Samberg.
Not a huge fan. I'm kind of off and on.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway. Playing any good SpongeBob video games lately?
No, I've not played any SpongeBob. No. Nope. Just like I said, we went and sat on the beach for a week, and the beach is not super conducive to playing video games. But
you got your Switch. You can take that thing anywhere.
You can't see it in the sun.
That's right.
Like all great Nintendo devices, you take it outside and you can't see it.
How about the Vita? Does that work outside? That has a real bright screen on it.
I don't know. I'm sure that I have a Vita chock full of video games that need to be played, but I've not taken it out of its little charger in probably over a year at this point.
Oh, terrible.
Yeah.
Spelunky 2 is right around the corner. And I started off playing that thing on the Vita. And it just dawned on me a few hours ago. I was like, probably not going to be a Vita version this time around.
That would be impressive.
It would be, yeah. They haven't even said anything about whether it's going to be on the Switch or not. Just there's not going to be a portable Spelunky this time. A little sad.
That's a bummer. Yeah. But I had some kind of, in the evening, as things were winding down, I would check in on my Animal Crossing folks and make sure nobody moved away while I was sitting on the beach, and also had some time to play The Last Campfire. So that was really kind of the only game I dug into in the past week or so.
Is that a Switch thing?
It's on the Switch. I don't think it is only the Switch, though.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, you're playing it on the Switch.
I'm playing it on the Switch, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is... It's a new game by Hello Games. It is Hello Games.
Hello.
Hi. The Hello Games, I think their sort of a big legacy is No Man's Sky. Although this is a different dev team.
Oh, yeah, they kind of split out another team in that studio, right?
I believe so.
I think as No Man's Sky was in production.
So yeah, I keep seeing a lot of reviews that it's sort of, by the folks who made No Man's Sky, and that does not appear to be entirely true. But it is the same sort of developer on the label. So, it bears no resemblance to No Man's Sky. You would not look at The Last Campfire and go, "Oh, surely that is a video game made by the people who made another game about quintillions of planets."
Yeah, it's very colorful, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say that's fair.
Yeah, maybe that's not the best comparison. I like a lot of video games are going to have this look.
Yeah, Mario Odyssey is colorful. Do you think it's by Hello Games?
Maybe,
could be.
Maybe they worked on part of it.
Who makes those things?
I've had such a hard time figuring out sort of like the legacy behind Fall Guys because everybody was like, "Oh, it's just a little tiny team made this. They've only made a couple games before. Amazing," but like the team that made Fall Guys is part of this enormous studio that works on all these other projects, and to the point where it's like it's kind of difficult to figure out what everybody worked on before Fall Guys. And I just find myself running into that situation with more and more developers lately.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I mean, I've certainly read things about. I think it was in reference to one of the Assassin's Creed games, is that they essentially piecemeal the assembly of an Assassin's Creed game out to tons of different studios.
Oh yeah, like everybody in the world makes every Assassin's Creed game.
Right. So and obviously it's a lot of those are Ubisoft somethings, north, south, east, west, or whatever. But there are also, indie studios who take the check from Ubisoft to develop assets or whatever for the next Assassin's Creed game. And in a roundabout way, I think, Assassin's Creed ends up funding tons of little indie games in a lot of ways. So, I think, that's certainly how that happens. And it's probably, if you run an independent video game studio, I think in a roundabout kind of way, you need to be open to, piecemeal work on the next AAA juggernaut thing.
Yeah. Kind of cool that they can, I don't want to say it's like exposure, but they kind of be working on a variety of stuff all at the same time.
Yeah. You keep people working, keep people paid. That's a plus.
Yeah.
What was my point? My point is that I played The Last Campfire.
So another theme of Hello Games.
Yeah. And this is, a very different experience than No Man's Sky. You are a little sack creature, a little kind of woodland sprite. You're called an ember. I think your name is Ember, and you are also an ember.
Okay.
And you're just a weird little critter, a little sort of, I don't know. I thought monster at first. I thought maybe he was a little monster, but he's just a little heartfelt kind of woodland creature. I don't know much more than that. And you don't get much more than that in the game.
Are you the last campfire?
No, the campfire is a place that you and your fellow embers are trying to get to. It appears to be sort of a place of community. It appears to be a hub. And the game starts with you and a number of other little sack people kind of traveling to the last campfire. And you get distracted and fall behind. In the process of that happening, you find other little embers have fallen behind as well. And they are sort of scattered throughout the woods. And as you sort of talk to them, you realize that they have become forlorn. They've given up hope that they'll ever make it to the last campfire. And you try to help them. You try to solve whatever sort of emotional distress is causing them to be forlorn. And the way that the game sort of depicts those is by sort of dumping you in a Zelda dungeon.
Okay.
With a puzzle to solve. There's a voiceover that sort of explains the symbolism at play in the puzzles vaguely, but in a lot of ways it's really just you trying to sort of move boxes and line up electrical panels and et cetera, little sort of environmental puzzles to be able to return sort of motivation and positivity and optimism to your fellow Ember so that they can catch up with the group and meet everybody at the last campfire.
That's funny. For some reason, when you said a Zelda dungeon, I wasn't picturing like literally a Zelda dungeon where you're pushing blocks or something. I was imagining like, I don't know, like whatever issues the Ember was having would manifest themselves in some way.
Oh, yeah, it's not quite so tangible. No, it's more...
Sometimes you just got to push some blocks.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I dig it, though. There is sort of a vagueness to it that I kind of like. It does have this sort of weird storybook kind of mentality to it. And like I said, there's a narrator that will chime in periodically, and she has a sort of a vaguely kind of Eastern European kind of non-specific accent where I spent much of the game going, who is this? I should know this voice. Or what country is she from? But again, reading the credits at the end, I have no clue who this person is. So probably for the better. If it was a big celebrity or something like that, it would be distracting. But she will sort of chime in periodically with little nuggets of arcane wisdom to kind of keep you moving forward and keep you motivated. There's no real fail states in this. There's no monster chasing you. There's no ticking clock. You don't jump into the puzzles and only have a minute to solve it or something bad will happen. Nothing like that. You kind of consume everything at your own pace. the criteria for even being able to kind of move forward in the game is there are little kind of hubs with different kind of worlds spoken out of the hub, and each one of those has a sort of a forlorn ember hidden somewhere in it, and the game will show you sort of, there are 9 embers hidden, but if you find 5 or 6 of them, we'll let you move forward.
Okay. Yeah,
so it's
enough.
pretty kind of low stakes, low stress, and that's good. I think that's probably an ideal beach game for me. So, being the collector that I am in video games, I was going to get all 9 if there were 9 embers to find. But the game does not create a lot of pressure or stress to be able to sort of solve these puzzles, to get through the world, to collect the things you need to move forward. It is just this sort of like fairy tale-ish, kind of lightweight, kind of easily consumable puzzle adventure.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And you're not like bashing your head against any of these puzzles either?
No, they're a few of them are kind of brain scratchers, but they all have like a hook to them where you sort of like you get a couple of abilities at some point in the game. You have a musical instrument that you can play that allows you to move anything that's metal in the environment without having to pick it up. It's sort of, if it's a metal block, it'll roll the block. If it's a lock, it'll drop the chamber so that the door opens and stuff like that. So once you sort of figure out what the hook is in the game, what tool you have to use to kind of solve the puzzle, it's sometimes just a matter of trying to move pieces around like sliding block style to be able to line it up just so you can progress. So there are some little head scratchy moments where you're trying to sort of figure out like, am I flipping blocks? Am I moving metal plates? Am I conducting electricity or moving water or something like that? So once you sort of figure out kind of what tools to use to solve the puzzle, it's sometimes just a matter of kind of spamming all of those abilities to unlock the thing and move forward. So yeah, again, even those are not stressful or stress-inducing in any way. They're pretty lightweight and pretty consumable.
Well, it sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, it's good. It's not, it's beautiful. It's super cute. It's very, I keep saying fairy tale like. I don't know if that sort of describes anything to anybody, but you have this sort of beautiful foliage in this, you get a little rickety boat and you can kind of move around from platform to platform sometimes. And there's little pigs that you have to you lure them onto pressure blocks, and you have to find a little fruit that the pigs like, and you kind of wave it in front of their nose, and they trot along and follow you until you can drop them on a block.
Sure.
And so, yeah, you're using the environment, but everything in it is kind of cute and painterly, and just sort of inspired by oh, look at that! Oh, look how cute that is. Yeah, it's not a game that beat you up too badly. It's not a game that makes you super stressed out because you can't solve a puzzle or can't find the last of a thing you need to collect to move forward. It's just very unobtrusive. It's just easy to kind of consume and move on. Yeah, but I like it. I find it kind of endearing. I thought it, like I said, it was a good beach game, yeah, I thought it was a fine time.
Nice.
Yeah.
It occurred to me that this is probably more like a 3D Zelda-like, not necessarily like the 2D top-down ones.
Yeah, it's more like the Breath of the Wild dungeons, where it sort of drops you in a room. And that was a lot of the hook with the Breath of the Wild ton of dungeons, is that, what did they call them in Breath of the Wild?
Yeah,
shrines.
Like shrines or whatever.
Where it wasn't sort of like a series of interconnected rooms where you had to kind of solve a puzzle. The shrines in Breath of the Wild, for those who haven't played it, it basically put you in one room with one puzzle to solve, and sometimes it was a matter of sort of like, oh, I have to get electricity from here to here, or I have to channel water from this place to this place. And
the way you're describing the puzzles in this actually reminded me specifically of that, which
there you go.
It's kind of interesting because it's pretty different than other, like the typical, like what I typically think of when I think of a Zelda dungeon.
Yeah, I should have qualified that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's fine. It's interesting that somebody else, I wonder how directly inspired it was by Breath of the Wild, but it sounds like they kind of took that idea and said, oh, what if we just made more of these, like, sort of physics-based puzzles?
Yeah. Yeah, I had hoped that Breath of the Wild would do more of that because I love those. Those were a lot of fun. They were there were ones that were just combat focused, and those were frustrating.
Yeah, well, those are a drag. Whenever you drop down, there's that guy sitting there.
Yeah,
it's like, oh man.
Yeah, or a guardian. And you have to sort of, fight him to move forward. But the ones where they sort of drop you in and they're like, here's a post conducting electricity and here's a dark light bulb across the room and you have to sort of bridge it. I'm like, oh, okay, I could do this for hours.
Yeah.
I was hoping Breath of the Wild would make more of those. I was hoping there'd be a DLC pack or something at some point that was like 20 more dungeons or shrines, I guess. But that never happened, unfortunately.
Oh, there were so many of those, though?
There were a lot. There were like 100, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted 120, TJ.
Okay. Well, how many of them are in this game?
Maybe I'm alone in that. 30? I think about 30.
30? Oh.
Yeah.
You do that in the afternoon.
It's, yeah. I mean, certainly compared to Breath of the Wild, you probably could hammer it out in an afternoon, but...
yeah. I've heard this is kind of on the short side, not in a bad way, but it's just something you can get through fairly briskly.
Yeah, I don't know if I was watching the clock on it, but it felt like 5-6 hours maybe.
Yeah, sounds pretty good.
But yeah, what a pleasant surprise. It was kind of light and airy and unobtrusive, and I thought it was fun. There was even an element of it that kind of reminded me a bit of like a Lost Woods kind of element from Zelda. The Lost Woods in most Zelda games is this place where you kind of have to walk a very specific path through the mist, lest you get kind of turned around and end up back where you started in the woods. And there's a mechanic in the Last Campfire. There's a section of areas that you have to sort of progress from screen to screen to screen on. Again, lest you get sort of turned around and end up back where you started. You get kind of a rudimentary kind of mapping ability, and then to a certain degree there's like a crank you can turn that rotates the rooms, and it's just, again, there's some kind of interesting mechanics to it, but none of it is so frustrating that you would ever sort of abandon this game.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's good. I think it's definitely sort of polished to be kind of easy to digest.
Yeah. Frustration free.
Yeah, relatively.
Nice.
Yeah. I
Cool.
wouldn't call it a relaxing game.
A relaxing game. Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun. Yeah, I would absolutely recommend. Yeah, if this sounds interesting to anyone, or if you need just kind of a lightweight kind of happy pill of a game, The Last Campfire, I would recommend.
Nice. Kind of an interesting thing. I wonder how the idea came about that, like, okay, we've got one theme working on No Man's Sky, and then we're going to make this thing, like, out of all the other possible games they could have made.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how the decision-making process on things like that happens. It's there's just, unfortunately, still not a lot of transparency around things like that in the video game industry. Mm-hmm. I think developers, publishers tend to hide and hoard a lot of information.
What was the game that they made, like the studio made before No Man's Sky? Wasn't it like you were doing, like, you're on a stunt bike or something?
Oh, what was that guy's name?
I don't remember the name, but that was the same developer, wasn't it?
Yeah, you were a little stunt man on a motorcycle and you had to do kind of wacky tricks.
Yeah, there's no through line for any of these projects trying to just scrape something together.
Yeah. Yes. It's not like there are some indie developers that kind of have like a house style, right? I think of the folks that make the SteamWorld games. There's definitely kind of a through line between all those different genres and stuff like that, but they have, a mechanic and aesthetic that they dig. Who's the group that makes Bastion and
Supergiant.
Supergiant. I think they're sort of a consistent kind of house style to their video games.
It's like, make any kind of video game as long as somebody just talks the entire time.
As long as there's a really gravelly voice narrator and good songs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've not kept up with all of their video games, but it seems like they definitely they have a thing that they do. I don't know if you would say that about Hello Games.
I don't know.
They're a little all over the place.
I mean, that's fine. I feel like maybe a lot of developers, maybe most of the developers are more like that. At least the indie ones, they kind of hop around a lot. I just think it's, there's such a disparity between, like, hey, let's make like an Evel Knievel game, and then we'll build the universe, and then Zelda dungeons. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the crazy thing about, there's a lot of crazy things about Hello Games, and even sort of breaking down kind of the launch and initial reception of No Man's Sky was nuts. And the fact that 4 years later, they continue to put out content for No Man's Sky. That they continue to sort of like improve and grow that game is surprising. Well, they're continuing to work on other stuff. So it's just, it's very kind of interesting, their approach.
Yeah. And people really like it now, it seems like. So that's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's sort of like settled into being kind of one of those lifestyle games where it's sort of like, oh no, I only play Minecraft, or I only play...
only play No Man's Sky.
Yes, I think there's probably a collection of people in the world who really just only play No Man's Sky now.
I can see that. Oh, so I haven't checked that out. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I'll just have a Hello Games weekend. I'll play this, play some No Man's Sky.
See what the current status of No Man's Sky is.
Yeah. Play that new Supergiant game just because we were talking about that. And want to see if there's just a narrator the whole time. I don't know.
That's the one with the Greek gods, right? Isn't that...
Yeah, it's like a Hades, a roguelike or something.
There you go. Yeah. But yeah, so this is the Last Campfire. We've sort of spun it into other video games, but I would recommend.
Cool.
Yeah. So what have you been playing? Tell me why.
I have been playing... Tell me what you've been
Tell
playing.
me what.
Tell me what. Yeah. Oh, just the endless riffs on the title of this game. It's great. It's the best. I finished Tell Me Why. You were out last week, so I didn't have anybody to talk about it with. But episode 2, as we talked about, it just came out right after episode 1, just a week later. And then once again, episode 3 came out, so it's like, oh, this is great. Really good approach to an episodic release schedule, I think. Yeah. And I was able to keep up with it for the most part.
Cool. Do you get the impression that this was sort of made to be, a 9-hour game, and then they decided to sort of chunk it out into 3 sections, or does it feel episodic?
It feels, that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
It does feel more episodic to me. And that, I mean, like, it's kind of interesting because each individual episode, actually, I think they're called chapters, but whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of feels broken down into just 3-hour-long segments. It's kind of the same way with the Life is Strange series. Like, even though there were 5 episodes in each of those seasons, each one of those had just smaller chapters within it.
Right.
And it was kind of the same way with this. So I don't really know. I mean, they also... Each set of 3 little like mini chapters kind of had its own arc. So I was going to say maybe they just planned out 9 of these little sub chapters and then split them up. But it really does feel like they fit together like 3 at a time.
Oh, nice.
So I don't know. I was actually reading about Don't Nod. The developer has another game in the works called it's like Twin Mirror or something. And I forget. I just read about this afternoon, so I'm already misremembering it. But I think it started out they were going to do another episodic thing, but they are just turning it into like just a one and done, like longer kind of experience.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Twin Mirror is what it's called.
Yeah.
Oh, it's supposed to be this year.
Yeah, that was also surprising. I wonder if that's going to get delayed or whatever. But anyway, I thought the 3 chapters, just very brief, and we got 3 or like 2 to 3 hours long each one. Worked out really well. It's enough to get through in a week. Did not really fall behind. And overall, I think I enjoyed the entire thing. I thought it was very good.
Oh, nice. That's it. Moving on.
That's it. That's all. Yeah. I had some... there are definitely some like weird plot beats, which as they were happening in the game, I was like, I don't know about this, but for the most part, I really enjoyed the story. I really enjoyed, especially so this is a game about the 2 twins who were like separated around when their mother passed away in their childhood, and they've just been reunited, and are trying to just uncover the details surrounding their mother's death. But like I said, they've been separated for a while, so they're like, this is their reunion after I think like 6 or 7 years. So there's a lot of just interesting dynamics going on. But Like, even if I was having some issues with parts of the story, I just felt like the twins' relationship, and also just their relationship with some of the other characters they meet along the way, was done very well. And it was very very like, they were both very supportive of each other, and it was very wholesome the whole time, at least the way I was playing it. Maybe you can approach this and just decide that you don't want them to hang out with each other anymore and
just be
make
toxic,
terrible
right?
decisions. Yeah. Because it's, it's like one of those, it's like the Life is Strange games, or the any Telltale adventure game where you're making decisions in like conversations and stuff like that as you go through, and those have repercussions down the road. But no, I liked it quite a bit. There's one thing that kept popping up as I was playing this, and I wonder if this is something you've noticed, because you played some of the Life is Strange series and then like the Telltale stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't know if it's more noticeable in this because it's so short, relatively, but they spend a lot of this game trying to just track down other people they know in this small town and just asks them, like, hey, do you know what was going on back then about our mom and stuff like that? I just felt like, I don't know if it was because if it was a pacing thing, but a lot of the conversations would kind of go like, oh, hey, it's me, Tyler. I used to live here. Haven't seen you for a while. What happened to our mother? What do you know? What? Tell me the secrets you're hiding from me. They just felt like very suddenly confrontational about a lot of things. And I don't know if that's because like I am not a confrontational person at all, really. And it just felt like...
So you just find yourself very sensitive to that sort of escalation in energy?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't quite as dramatic as I was making it out to be, but sure. It did seem like... I don't know. The twins are very direct. They're much more of a favor a direct approach to this sort of stuff more than I would.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't know that it was sort of cognizant of it at the time that I was playing Life is Strange, or no, Life is Strange. I think I recognized it at the time because there's a lot of, and I was sort of critical of Life is Strange at the time for it of just sort of like freewheeling teen angst in that game, and it is a lot of a character yelling at another character saying, you don't understand me, you don't know me, and it felt like every interaction with every person in their lives ultimately got to a fight. And I think there's some sort of universal truth to being an angsty teenager to that, but it is also a way of sort of manufacturing drama. And I think it just got exhausting in Life is Strange. I think the Telltale games have been a little more subtle with it. I don't remember it being quite so glaring in those games, but yeah, I think that's sort of universally true about the first season of Life is Strange anyways.
I do feel like, there were a lot of interactions in those games, the Life is Strange games, that did feel just like, the episode's ending. We got to come up with some kind of tension to get the characters in and out of really quickly.
Right.
But in this, I thought it was interesting because it felt like a lot of those situations were just coming up, like, not because of decisions I was making, but, they just have to go. They're like, they're asking questions. They're kind of sleuthing around. And it just comes up that they spend a couple minutes exchanging pleasantries with these people that they haven't seen for a long time. And then it's just all business. Just tell me what happened. Tell me why.
Right.
So I don't know if that's just like a specific reaction I was having. I was like, oh, okay. But aside from that, I thought it was very good.
Did you have dialogue choices that could have led you to that point in a different way, or was that sort of heightened interaction inescapable?
For the most part, I think it was just how the plot naturally kind of unfolds, and then once you're having that conversation, you have dialogue options. So I don't know. Maybe there's just not enough time to slowly build up to these things. There's like at one point in particular, I remember where the sister goes to talk to one of their old friends, and she's like kind of not really into it at this point. She's just like doesn't really want to dig too much deeper, but she goes to talk to this guy anyway, and she's just like kind of like just doing the pleasantries thing, like, hey, what you working on? Hey, let me help you out here. What happened to our mother? It's just like, oh my god, this is feels kind of unexpected.
Yeah. Huh.
But I don't know. I'm probably just blowing it out of proportion. Anyway, not even complaining about it. I just was wondering, like, is this just what people do when they are uncertain about something? They just go right out there, and I don't know. Feels very kind of ruthlessly efficient to me.
Yeah, that's fair. I think some of these adventure games can feel a little sprawling. I think the first season of The Walking Dead is the only one that I've played to completion, and the rest of them I think I've attempted to play, and they feel kind of meandering. And I think that's the nature to a certain degree of The Walking Dead, is it shifts its focus from different characters, so you're not always sort of rooting for the same two leads, and that's kind of The Walking Dead in general. But yeah, I think I just got tired of it. I felt like it was just there was too much. There were too many people to keep track of. There were too many relationships to sort of manage and manipulate. And I found it less compelling. I think maybe it could have benefited from being a little more efficient. Yeah, I mean, it's not always, I respect a developer who kind of fills in the in-between parts where you get a little bit of the life between high moments. But I mean, that's Quentin Tarantino. Every Quentin Tarantino movie always has these sort of meandering secondary sections that would have gotten kind of cut out of any other director's movie. But for some reason, he likes sort of wallowing in the in-between stuff. And I kind of dig that. But there's something to be said for being efficient and kind of getting to the point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that
which I totally didn't do in my explanation of that.
Well, it's a good thing you're not writing video games.
Right, exactly.
I felt like for the most part, this was paced very well. Like the very first episode, I think I mentioned last time, it started off kind of slowly where you're just in a room and you're just like, oh, let me kind of poke around all these little trinkets I got in my room. It's a very familiar scene if you played an adventure game like this before. And there are a few other scenes like that pop up where you just have some free time to explore around and look at like stuff posted on the walls. But none of it ever really felt forced. In fact, there are a lot of scenes in this that are just like maybe it's the twins are just sitting somewhere and talking with each other or hanging out with one of the other characters, and not at that point they're not doing an intense interrogation of them, but it's just like a nice kind of slow moment,
just a casual hang.
I think it really helped kind of endear me to the characters quite a bit.
Oh, good.
There was also this other weird factor which I forgot to mention last time, which is growing up, you and like the twins and their mom had this kind of like homemade storybook which had stories their mom would tell them about basically the like just very thinly veiled alter egos for the twins, who they refer to as the goblins, and then all of their friends around the town are some kind of like forest animal. And then like the first time you bring this up in the game, you open the Book of Goblins, and it's just like, oh my god, there's like 20 stories in this book, and it's like a pretty substantial amount of text. They're like these 20 little short stories.
Oh.
I was like, oh my god, how is this going to be relevant? But the way it most frequently comes up during gameplay is there will be like just this ridiculous Resident Evil style puzzle. Like at one point you're trying to get through a door, and it's like, oh, the door won't open. Oh, what's this? And there's just like a lock with 3 wheels on it with pictures of like forest animals on it. Like, oh, better refer to the Book of Goblins, better solve this. And just the first time that happened, I'm just like, what in the world? This makes absolutely no sense. It was a little contrived, and it gets more ridiculous later on, but like not to the point where I was just like put off by it. I just think it's like, man, they really just ran with this. The fact that their mom was really into Resident Evil puzzles and just left all these things sitting around.
That seems like an odd choice.
Yeah. It's very weird. I do like the fact that all the characters in in the book, and you do end up having to read a few of these stories just to figure out clues and stuff. Kind of tied in nicely with their past and like their mom's life and everything. That was kind of a clever way of handling it. But at the same time, it was just like after the fifth, just weird section where you have to push a bunch of buttons on a wall. I was like, this is they had to have known this is going to be a little silly, right? Anyway,
yeah.
I'm not even complaining about it. I just thought it was just somebody had this bizarre idea, and they just put that entire thing into the game,
and nobody could talk them out of it. Yeah.
And
I feel like maybe I should play this.
I think you would probably be into it.
Yeah. I didn't get into Life is Strange season 2.
Mm-hmm. But you didn't even like season 1.
Didn't care for season 1, no, and really had to force myself to finish that. But I hear good things about this. You seem enthusiastic about it, and I like that it's 3 chapters out and done, and I don't have to wait
already
9 months to get into it. So
yeah,
smart.
Yeah, I was I was actually into Life is Strange 2 a lot, more than most people seem to be. And then I just got through episode 4, I think, and I still have to play the 5th one. So I felt like maybe that's just a little too long. I think 3 episodes is really good.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I don't think it was even a matter of too many episodes. It was just the erratic release schedule kind of lost me. So yeah. There was always folks who, when Telltale was at their height in producing 16 different video games a year, people would wait. I'm going to wait till they all come out, and inevitably they would put out sort of like the collector's edition that has every episode on a disc and stuff like that. And I was never patient enough to wait for that. I wanted to sort of play them as they all came out, but those always fell victim to kind of the erratic release schedule as well, and very little fanfare on the release of the next one, so that, episode 3 of season 9 is out, and I'm already committed to other video games, so I don't get to it right away. And it's just always smarter to probably wait until they're all out and consume them in a session.
Mm-hmm. I was actually thinking, so going back to the little mini chapters thing within each chapter of this, I thought, what if they clearly they had the entire thing just done when they started releasing these things. I don't know if that was the case with Telltale and the Life is Strange games, because those seems like they were much longer. But I wonder if somebody could just make even a 9-hour game, split it into 9-hour-long episodes, and then do that every week. So it just at that point, you're just a TV show. It comes out.
Right. Well, wasn't that originally the hook for what was that game? Xbox game.
Not the Remedy game, was it?
Yeah, the Remedy game.
But that wasn't episodic in any way, was it?
I think it was originally pitched that way. Because do you remember when Microsoft they were going to make TV shows to put on Xbox?
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
And what was this game called?
Quantum Leap.
Quantum Conundrum.
Quantum Conundrum, yeah.
Nope.
No, it's Quantum Leap, I'm pretty sure. Let's just...
It had a word like quantum in it. It may have had the word quantum in it.
Quantum Leap.
That's a different thing. No, Scott Bakula to be found. But anyway.
Scott Bakula was there, yeah.
I believe that was supposed to be kind of an hour a week kind of situation, and they kind of lost their confidence, and Microsoft went a different way. And so it became this unusual thing where you play a video game for 3 hours, and then you watch a 1-hour movie.
That's so weird.
And then you play a video game for 3 hours. And I think there was another 1-hour movie. It was hammy, but it was a fun game, but it was hard to get through that hour of not playing the video game. So yeah, I don't know. I would respect that. I think that would be neat. It would take somebody who's not afraid of losing a lot of money to experiment on something like that. I think gamers were not accustomed to consuming that way.
Well, trying to do a lot of different things. But I was thinking, if you just you can be a game the entire way through. Right. But just slice it up a little smaller than they've been doing. Because I have to say, I feel like 3, this sounds ridiculous, but getting through a 3-hour-long episode every week, I think I ended up finishing episode 2 after episode 3 had already come out. But if it was just an hour a week, I can just knock that out in the morning or whenever.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
I'd be interested to see somebody try it, just because I feel like the pacing on this one works so much better than all the other attempts at episodic games. So just like, what if they just took that to the next level? What if we just got even shorter games, but I guess more of them?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, if you don't want to play your game that way, you can binge it when the entire season's out. That's
yeah.
Yeah. Quantum Break. Is that what you said?
No, Quantum Leap. That's right.
Okay. People are going to be confused. Yeah. Weird.
I wonder when the copyright falls off of Quantum Leap, so they can somebody can make a new product with that name. I don't know. When does Quantum Leap go into the public domain? We can get all the spin-offs and everything. Scott Bakula.
When Scott Bakula dies.
Yeah. No. Well, you're saying that's the only thing keeping it under copyright is Scott Bakula is alive?
Scott Bakula just sort of defending it with his life. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. No idea that was the case.
Anyway.
Tell me why. Really good. I enjoyed it. I recommend it if you're into these types of games. Man, I don't want to give anything away, but no, I'm not even going to say what I was going to say.
Okay, don't.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
Cool.
What a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. I wonder what they're going to next besides this twin mirror thing, because that sounds like it may be very different than all their other stuff.
Yeah.
I wonder if we'll get Life is Strange episode or series 3.
Yeah. I have Vampire or I don't know if it's Vampire or Vampire. I have that. It's the other Don't Nod game I think that came out before this.
Mm-hmm.
I bought it and never played it.
Well, maybe you should check it out.
I should check that out, yeah.
Maybe play it for 1 hour a week for like 30 weeks or however long it is.
I wonder, now that they're sort of wholly owned by Microsoft, I wonder if that's going to sort of increase their output or if we're going to see sort of a different scale of games they're going to make, or if they're going to stick with these cute little like self-contained adventure games.
Did they actually acquire them? I'm not sure if that happened.
That was my understanding of it.
Oh. Okay. I actually don't know, so I could be wrong.
I could be wrong too. So we'll Google it in between and I'll apologize next week.
Okay. While I'm not playing Tell Me Why, I have been trying to get into this game Moon. Have you been following this at all? I
remember reading a little article about it when it popped up. It's an old... I won't steal the thunder. Tell us what Moon is, DJ.
Okay. So Moon, this game, it's either called Moon or some places will call it Moon Remix or Moon Remix RPG. It's an old PlayStation 1 RPG from the 90s. I think it was planned for release outside of Japan, but the plans were canceled at the last minute. But it ended up being like incredibly successful and popular and beloved, and is cited as the inspiration for a lot of video games, especially RPGs following this. In particular, Undertale took a lot of inspiration from this, which was kind of interesting because it didn't come out in English until this point. So I guess Toby Fox or whoever was that into it. But what it is it's kind of like a little bit of I don't know if I want to call it like a send up of classic RPGs, but it's very unconventional. It takes those old RPG conventions and like messes around with them quite a bit. It starts off, first of all, so like I said, this is an old PlayStation 1 game, so the aesthetic is just wild. Like you start it up and they're like these big chunky like PlayStation 1 2D graphics. For the most part, it looks like the entire game is in 2D, but it's this weird mix of like, not the highest resolution sprites or anything. It just looks like if you were playing PlayStation 1 games back then, especially 2D games that had a lot of sprite work in it. It just has this weird, it's tough to describe. Just very whimsical and goofy 2D art all around. But it starts off, you're this little kid playing a game within a game. You're playing this RPG called Moon, I think, and it somehow manages to be a parody of both Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy at the same time, or basically just just some generic JRPG from that era. And you set off and you're the hero in this game. And like there's this whole long-winded backstory of why you're this hero, and this crisis that has befallen this kingdom of Moonland or whatever it is, and you just follow this hero on his quest to defeat this dragon. And this entire sequence is like the intro sequence of this game is ridiculous. And I'm not gonna I won't give away what happens because it's pretty hysterical. But as you're playing this, you hear like your mom start shouting at you, just like, stop playing that game, go to bed. So you turn off the game, go to bed, and then as you're sleeping, I guess the game comes alive and sucks you into it, and you find yourself trapped in this moon world, like within the game. And from here, it gets just even weirder. You start talking to people, and this feels very much like it feels very late 90s Japanese RPG style, where nobody just shows up and spits hours and hours of tutorials at you. You're just kind of dropped into this weird situation and left to fend for yourself a little bit. And I'm still very early on in this game, so I don't fully understand what's happening. Mm-hmm. But you're told very early that, like, oh, you look familiar. You seem like, but at the same time, you might need somebody to explain what's going on in this world. Basically, the most important thing in this world is love, and you need love to like survive, basically. And if you run out of love, you're just gonna like pass out and die. So it kind of falls on you to go around and talk to all the other townsfolk and characters in this world and solve their problems to like unlock more love, I guess. And then by doing that, you are able to you have more like daily stamina, because it's kind of based on a not really real time, but you like get up in the morning, and by going around and doing things, you expend stamina, and then at some point you have to go back to your bed and go to bed so you can do everything again tomorrow. So in that sense, it reminds me a little bit of like I think that game Minute. Yeah. Where it would like you would die every 60 seconds and have to restart.
Right.
You're not dying constantly in this. Well, hopefully not, but it's just there's only so many things you can do with the limited amount of stamina you have every day. So at some point you just have to call it and be like, well, that's it. Time to go back home and start again tomorrow. And it's also a little bit like Majora's Mask, because it's kind of on like there are I think 7 weekdays. And when you wake up every morning, it's a new day, and people in this town have their own unique daily routines that they go and do. So, for instance, you have to go and talk to the king, or you don't have to. You can one of the things you can do is you can go try and have an audience with the king. When I tried to do that right away, I was told that the king was like busy in the morning because he's out walking in the gardens or whatever. So I had to come back in the afternoon. So you kind of like learn everybody's schedules, I guess. And once you have a better idea of that, you can get some like clues as to what their problems might be and when you can find them and interact with them in order to solve them.
Oh, gotcha.
So that's pretty unusual.
Yeah, that's like man, I'm not good at game names today.
Quantum Leap.
Yeah, Quantum. No, the Lost Worlds. The where you're the little alien that has to fly around the universe to set things right before it implodes on itself.
Oh, yeah, the Outer Wilds.
Outer Wilds, there you go.
Outer Wild, whatever.
It's
a little bit like that, actually.
Yeah, and a lot of that is very timing based, where sort of the more you explore, the more you learn that you can't land on this one planet at 2 p.m. because it is there's an earthquake that happens at 2 p.m. and you only learn this because you're stuck in this time loop, and it's so critical that you land and do things on a very specific schedule, and you only learn that by failing at it so many times.
Yeah. It's a little different in this because it's not really a loop. I don't think it's like, I mean, it's not like you don't die at the end of every day unless you just stay out too long.
It's not Groundhog Day.
Yeah, you just go back to bed. And I think, I mean, I'm like, one of my great paranoias about this is that it's going to be like Pikmin, where it's like, oh, this game is only 2 months long. So if you just waste too much time, you can't make any progress after a certain point.
Oh, wow.
It feels to me like it's just, you get to the end of the week, it's like a, regular calendar week. It just rolls over to the next week. I'm hoping that's how it is. I'm hoping everybody always does the same thing on Tuesday that they were doing last Tuesday, so I can sync up with them at some point. So it feels like it's a bit of a slow start to this as I try and figure out everybody's schedules and just what is possible to do in this game. One of the other reasons that it took me so long to just get to the point where I am now is that I started playing this and I got through the whole intro thing, which is very entertaining. I ended up in this weird moon world. I learned about love and like the weird stamina and like clock system. I thought, well, that's interesting. I can't wait to learn more about this. And I just started going around and just talking to people in the town and trying to get an audience with the king. And I did that and was making my way out of the castle. I was just walking through the town square, and then my guy just like dropped dead in the middle of the square because I ran out of like stamina, and it sent me back to the title screen. And I was like, "What?
Wow!
Like that seems kind of harsh."
Yeah.
And then I was just like, "Wow, is this for real? Is this just like a meta thing that's happening? Surely I'm not at the actual title screen, right?" It's all just, now I'm in a game within a game within a game or whatever is happening. But no, I just like legit died and got a game over and just at that point had to go through the entire intro sequence again.
Ugh.
And I was just like, I don't really like rage at games often, but I thought about like, oh, I don't know about this. I don't like this at all. So that was a bit of a wake-up call. I was like, oh, yes, this game is 25 years old, so sure.
You better keep an eye on that stamina gauge.
That's just stuff they did back then.
Yeah. So
I eventually just got enough patience to go back to it and watch this entire intro again. Not quite as entertaining the second time, given the recent events. But I learned that you eventually you essentially checkpoint yourself by whenever you go back to bed. So the very first time I played, I did not make it that far. I was just too excited to go and explore the town. And so now I am just playing extremely conservatively. Where I will get up and go talk to like one person, be like, "Oh, my stamina is halfway depleted. It's time to go to bed. I think sun's still out, but it's fine. It's better than dying."
Having to sit through this again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going slowly, and I feel like that is just how the game is starting out because you don't have much stamina at the beginning.
Oh, does that improve as you get further in?
Yeah, I think it's so as you do more tasks for the villagers and you increase the amount of love you have, you gain more stamina. You can do more things during the day. Like characters keep mentioning like, oh yeah, eventually you'll be able to, stay out longer as you level up and all that stuff. But until then, I'm just kind of like doing as little as possible so I can make it back home on time. Because, man, even with that in mind, there have been a few times where I was like, well, I still got some stamina. I could explore a little bit more of the castles if somebody's hanging out in this room in the afternoon. And then on the way back out, I just forget that, there's like a really long hallway out of the castle that you have to walk through, and you're just like kind of trudging along at this very like JRPG pace where your character's just like not really in a hurry. Like, oh man, you're gonna die if you don't get home in the next few minutes.
There's no sense of urgency.
Yeah, so there's just this weird tension, the fact that you could like drop dead and have to restart at the previous morning at any point. But I'm learning to deal with it after that very the kind of crash course on how this game works. So I would recommend, if you're interested in playing this, don't make the same mistake that I made. Just go to bed as quickly as possible, and then you can do whatever you're going to do tomorrow.
Good. Yeah, this is a game I had read a bit about. I have no memory of this existing kind of at its height in the past.
No, I'd never heard of it before.
Yeah, so like you said, it had never come to the U.S. anyways. But the fact that it was sort of being released on the Switch and it was originally a PS1 game, I guess made it a little noteworthy. And the fact that it's almost a 30-year-old game being re-released is unusual as well. Maybe it's not quite that old, but so I read a few things about this, and as it was sort of described and described multiple times by different outlets as being kind of an influence on Toby Fox for Undertale, I was kind of intrigued because the thing that, and I think Undertale's a little kind of too precious for its own good, and it lost me a little bit, but I like that it takes sort of an unorthodox approach to a pretty orthodox and regimented type of video game. Yeah. And
I'm excited about that too, and that was like part of the reason why I ended up in that situation, because I decided like, oh, well, if this is going to be super weird, I don't want to just spoil myself and like read guides about how to play it.
You might as well jump in. Yeah.
And then lo and behold, like 45 minutes in, I'm just dead. So at that point, I'm just like, well, maybe I should read stuff about this.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm intrigued, and I'm glad you're playing it because I don't want to deal with that.
I think I hope that's the only kind of gotcha moment in this game. I feel like, now that I understand how that works, it's not going to be as big of an issue, especially now that I actually I'm actually not even 100% sure. I'm pretty sure I saved my game by going to bed. There's not a whole lot of interface in this game that comes out and explicitly says oh, you save your game. And I don't know, previously there probably would have been some kind of memory card sequence, which has not yet showed up. So I'm just a little paranoid to even turn it off at this point. So, yikes. Yeah. So just, old games, they're exciting in unexpected ways.
Right. Exactly. Oh, geez. Cool.
It's good though. I'm into it. It's just it's weird enough to go back to a game from this era, especially one that it seemed like was already pretty weird when it was new, and just experience this thing. Yeah.
I think the this and Earthbound, there's something I hear about those games that I'm like, geez, I probably would really dig that, but I just can't bring myself to sort of deal with the era that these games were made in.
I think you would be into Earthbound. I think that's modern enough that it wouldn't be too frustrating.
Oh, really? Say I've read the opposite. So,
and it's fairly difficult, but that is, it's pretty pretty well designed overall. I wouldn't say go back and play they re-released the original Earthbound or whatever it was called, Mother on from the NES, and that just sounds like a nightmare grind. But Earthbound is aged pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, maybe that's the way to do it. All right, next backlog attack.
Okay. All right. Well, that'll be a good one.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. We should wrap this thing up, right?
Let's do it.
All right.
I think that's it.
Need any more video game hangover in your brain, you should follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/VGHangover. Or you can get show notes, links, and tell us what you thought about this episode at VGHangover.com. You should join us on Discord. We hyped that a little bit earlier. You can link to that at VGHangover.com as well.
Yeah, do it. Yeah. See you in there.
What else? Please subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you can listen to podcasts. And perhaps more importantly than all of those things is just tell your friends about us.
Yeah. Maybe your friend is going to the beach for a week and they're all out of podcasts. Tell them about the show.
Yeah. Do it. Maybe they've listened to all of John Hodgman's podcasts and they need something else. Yep.
Yeah. We want to give thanks again to Lemonectric for our intro and outro music this week. If you want to hear more of his stuff, go check it out, lemonectric.bandcamp.com. If you want to hear more music in general, check out our fall radio playlist from last week. I don't know, maybe you skipped an episode and now you're listening to this. But we had kind of a fun music show last week with just an hour of loosely themed video game music. I think it was fun.
Excellent. I'm disappointed you didn't call it loosely themed video game music.
Oh, is that the episode title? Next time.
All right,
Kind
we'll
of
be
a
back
mouthful.
next week. Until then, this is Randy Dickinson.
This is DJ Ross.
Thanks for listening to Video Game Hangover. Goodbye.
Good night.
See ya.